what's interesting is, whenever there's any program which goes beyond time, I happen to be a politician, so you can go outside and blame the politician for everything which is wrong in terms of time extension. Politics are very interesting definitions. Somebody said, the best definition is poly means many and ticks is blood-sucking insects. So many blood-sucking insects, and that's. I just want to indulge you for a few. I might, and you can, like in school, you can clap in between if you think I'm going. I promise not to speak like Mulayam Singh Yadav. He gets 20 minutes and then he speaks for 1 hour 45 minutes. But whenever I get an opportunity to speak to a group like yours, and I always I make this journey, and I've told that to Venkatesh, and whether it's in the IAS Academy or to a group of IIM guys, with the fervent belief, and I don't want to sound over dramatic, but I need to say this, that my wife had a surgery done day before yesterday, and I rang up Alok, and it was quite a major surgery, and she's out of the ICU, and she's back in her room. But the important part is, so that probably will keep you guys waiting, listen to me sincerely. But the issue is that even if one guy gets, even one person, one girl, one guy gets the message, and why I say this story is because if I can do it, and I reverberate with what Amish is saying, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. I come from a very similar background. My father was a civil servant and very conservative. And why into politics? There's nobody in my family is from a political background. Do you have the, yeah, this is the one, right? Okay. So I belong to a party called Jharkhand Vikas Morcha. We are 4-year-old party. My constituency, a place called Jamshedpur. And I'm not going to spend too much of time on what Steve Jobs said, but that's what I don't come actually from Jharkhand. I come from Mangalore. I speak a language called Thulu. I used to be an Indian police service officer there, and then I've worked in the corporate world for a very long time, and then went and fought elections. And actually, Venkatesh asked me that, why did you work in the corporate world for so long? So I said, listen, I've actually been trying to become a politician, but for 14 years, I never got a ticket. Seriously, from the time I quit my service, I always wanted to serve. Now that sounds pretty idiosyncratic, but that's a fact. And doesn't get the ticket. So I was fighting this election for the first time, and it's good for a story writing because 20 people fought this elections from the Jamshedpur constituency. We were fighting. It was an ex-chief minister's seat. 20 guys fought. 19 guys lost their deposit. Now the issue was, it looks good because, and it's a strange way of outside power or whatever you might describe it, of balancing it, because actually, even if one guy got 3,000 more votes, he wouldn't have lost his deposit, okay? But it sounds good, it looks good, right? No experience in raising money. I just want to break the myths about people, I had no idea about how to raise money. And elections are expensive, And depends on where you come from. If you're from Karnataka, it's really big time. If you're from Bengal, it's slightly cheaper. Yeah, seriously. Just in case. I just want to, it's something very interesting, which I had no clue. I always thought politics, you'll serve people will be happy you're getting into it. So in a Lok Sabha election, there are around 2,000 booths, okay, 2,000 polling booths. And you normally put 4 or 5 people, and all the educated guys here think, okay, now to put 4 or 5 guys in each booth, even if you pay a guy 300 rupees or 400 rupees, lunch included, the day of the election, it's 3,000 into 2,000 is 60 lakh rupees, the day of the election. And everybody knows it, and that's wonderful about our country, is that everybody knows it. But you have a budget for election which is 40 lakhs. You said, I return it, and everybody's accepting it. And so I came in with totally no clue, just wanted to do it, wasn't there, okay, young party, etc., etc., etc. That's for me as a cop, and then, my mother is terribly horrified with the last picture. But what's interesting is when you don't have money, and I just want to show, when you don't have money, you use interesting techniques, right? You use radio, you use different kinds of campaign stuff. And what I want to say is that, look, it's important for people from this kind of, the background, the people which I'm addressing is, you don't have to become an MP or an MLA, but you definitely need to get politically engaged because we have outsourced politics to really, really bad people. I'm serious about this. And what happens is when you do that, and then it's very anecdotal but very interesting. I was Supreme Police in Patna. The then Chief Minister, Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav, was with the Senior Supreme Police. myself, the district collector, and the head of the academic council, Jharkhand Academic Council. So Patna at that time started this, you type in your roll number and you get a mark sheet, right? So academic council professor, IIT types and all, you know, so he typed in, he's got marks, first division and all, 75%. Then the deputy commissioner, the collector typed, he was an IIT guy and a Yale MBA later on, but so he got another 80%. Then senior super police from St. Stephen's, 70%. Then Lalu Yadav typed it in, you know, 41%. And he said, dekhiye, third class, first class ko raj kar raha hai. Which was actually pretty, you know, interesting from a perspective. Set me thinking desperately that, you know, this is the system. How does it decide and how do you do it? And you can keep saying about it from an outside, right? Okay. And I'll tell you, the election was one, and I'll share with you some stories, but election was one of the most interesting experience. Because there's something called a paid advertisement, and, you know, and everybody said no chance. So I'm campaigning, and it's raining, and it was raining cats and dogs in my constituency where I was campaigning. And there was this opponent, the guy from the opposition party. So I'm going to every guy shaking hands saying, you must vote, you know. And drenched to my bone in this rickety safari, I mean, borrowed from a friend, shaking hands, talking to everybody else. And this guy comes in with his chust kurta pajama, not wet at all, because somebody's holding his umbrella. And he cuts a ribbon, opens up office, and he goes back. The next day's paper has this photograph of me, you know, you can't make out because it's one of those first digital cameras. So it's that 0.001 pixel, it looks, you can't make out whether it's a dog or a chimpanzee or a man, saying Ajoy Kumar went to Patamda Boram. And this guy who just went to one place to inaugurate, he bought the press guys, said, Banna Gupta ka tufani dora. And it's all over the place, right? So, not knowing whether you're going to get through the whole system. And then I had something very more interesting. My party had something, my party symbol is a comb. Now, you're going to laugh about it. My kids hate it, right? Yeah, the comb, you know. But it's interesting. It's cheap. Everybody carries it, and it's a wonderful symbol. Now, you might have, you know, you might want something jazzy, like you will do what do you call, a brand manager to develop a brand and all, but the comb is one of the most effective things. And when I was campaigning, I had no clue on how it's going to work out. Okay? Just no idea. Wherever I used to go, I used to stand at the tea shop and I would see the kids doing like this. And I said, listen, there's something happening. I worked in that place as super police, and so the people knew me. But remember that it was 15 years back. We wiped out the mafia in Jamshedpur many, many years back, but it's 15 years. And people keep saying that people forget, but people never forget. 15 years. And I just thought, and whichever places we went, you know, the guys would, and the most interesting part, I'll tell you on this, 15 days before the election, so I ring up my wife and say, listen, I can't do this stuff. I just don't have money. And actually, no money. So she says, hey, listen, we're going to solve this problem. She's a civil servant. She said, listen, don't worry. We'll find out a way to do it. So next day, she sends me the papers of my house. And she says, listen, it's a joint property, sell the house. So I don't know if you have a house to sell, and if people are desperate to, you know, when you're desperate to sell it, whatever be the market price, you get it at a 60% discount. So I thought it was 100 lakh rupees. I mean, everybody was ready to buy it for 40 lakhs. So I went to the market to sell that house, right? It was in Jamshedpur. But what was interesting was, I couldn't sell it because the guys were really, really, you know, when they see an opportunity to buy a property cheap, you know, nobody's going to leave you, and nobody's going to, you know, give you a break because you're trying something to, you know, or contribute to the nation or all that stuff. It doesn't work. Anyway. But the people in the town and in the district got to know. So next day in the morning, so when I'm getting up at 6 in the morning, I see this huge crowd of people, simple people, outside, you know. And they start giving me money. And I used to be a cop, so I've never taken money, swear as God. But I understood how the Havaldars do it, you know, they shake hand and they take it. First time. $100, $200. And then I'm giving a public meeting and I'm addressing a public meeting and there's this huge crowd of people. And I come out and there's this chai wala and he looks at me and says, Ajay Kumar ji, sir, aapke liye main kuch paise le aaya. And he gives me $500, 1,000 rupees. So I said, yeah, tumhare paas kitna hai? Now he thought I wanted more, you know. So I said, boss, no. He said, tum kitna de sakte ho? You know, wrong way of framing questions, they teach you in management. I framed the question wrong, I guess. So he said, sir, 200 rupees mushkil se de sakta tha, lekin aapke liye hum de rahe hain 1,000. So I took $100 from him, you know. I took 100 rupees from him and I said, listen, you keep the rest of the 900 bucks, we'll find out ways to do it. And it's interesting. We go into the interior areas with the rickety safari and we come back and it's full of change. 5 rupees, 10 rupees coin chucked into it. Poor people just doing whatever they have. So I said, listen, even if you lose this election, and I had worked in the constituency for some time, but not in a way because it just doesn't give you the opportunity to work as much as you should. But anyway, yeah. So during the elections, politicians, and I was speaking to Venkatesh, see, one of the biggest challenge, and I want to speak to this distinguished group is, we all focus when the nation is wrong on the 30%, you know? We all focus a lot of time. I sit in the parliament and I see a lot of pressure groups. I call it the noisy minority because, by the way, because of crony capitalism and everything else, we focus on pension. And I'm not a bleeding heart communist, so don't get that mistake at all. I'm absolutely a free market guy as long as it's regulated. But, yeah, seriously. But pension, fund, and all that is fine. You know, the Insurance Regulation Act, and suddenly we believe that the FDI is going to take it over. We looked at those 70% as something which is, you need to give subsidy and the public distribution system and all these cheap railway fares and etc. And as I became, because my father was a civil servant, he was a civil servant, and I came from the same mindset till I got into politics and got my hand dirty. By the way, I want to tell something, you know, to this group is, most of us make this cardinal mistake of believing that we are there because we are good or we are competent. I come from my grandfather was an absolutely uneducated, didn't even know how to sign himself, a sharecropper in a place called Mangalore. My father was the only guy. All my uncles and aunts are illiterate technically, actually, not even technically, actually. And my dad was the only guy who went to college and then got into the civil service. So by a pure accident of one guy studying, I went to do my medicine from JIPMER, Pondicherry, etc., 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 but it's purely a fact of accident. It's nothing to do with competence, honestly speaking. If my dad had not married, if my dad had not gone to college, forget getting married, yeah, that would be a problem, but if he had not gone to college, I would actually be a sharecropper. And it strikes me day in and day out. It really troubles me. And I'll tell you through 3 stories because it's very important, and then I'll come to the rest of the presentation. I want you to understand how it is. So I go to this constituency of mine, and day in and day out, I see different stuff. So I organize a football tournament. MPs organize football tournaments. So we do, you know, and in my constituency, when you go to the tribal area, the prize is fantastic. You know, you give a big bakri or something, right? Yeah, seriously. I mean, if some of you can donate bakri for the next football tournament, that'll be fantastic. And a kid was playing, and he falls down. And I play football a lot, so I looked at the guy, and I said, it's okay, just go to the hospital and take something, get it cleaned up and all. And I go back to Delhi, and there is a parliament session going on. I forget about it. I get a call. And I get a call saying that this guy is serious. He's in the Tata Memorial Hospital in Jamshedpur. The doctor wants to talk to you. So I speak to the guy, because since I organized a football tournament, and the doc says we need to amputate the guy's leg. 14-year-old guy, 10th standard, only because the Jharkhand hospital doesn't have a 40 rupees antibiotic. It's not that they don't have the money. It's not that the government doesn't spend money, much more money on other things. They spent a few crores on the CM's son's treatment, so that's not the issue. The issue is the abysmal lack of governance and things which can be fixed by all of us present here. The second story is a girl called Premi Soren. A tribal girl, 1st to 10th standard, first, all the time, first. As bright as Gayatri, as bright as all the Amish and all of you guys here, and Gaurav. And she passes up from 10th, her parents want her to be a doctor, but she cannot get to a place called Baragoda from Gorabanda because the roads are so bad, it takes her 6 hours to travel. And to become a doctor, you need to do science in your 11th, 12th. And science has got 70% compulsory attendance. So this girl actually works in a Narega project in my constituency today. It's not that she was less competent. It's not that she was less bright. It's just that the state is so pernicious. The third one, and I'm going to just finish with 4 stories and then and the third one is Shadab Alam, you know, and I can resonate it because he comes to me, he's an auto rickshaw driver. He comes to me, his wife has got breast cancer. The bill is 2.5 lakhs. I went through a life-changing experience just a few days back, and I understood, you know, to go to Max, I can afford to do it in Max because I was in business and I was in a company. Where do these guys go? And it doesn't cost, it just costs 200 crores to 150 crores to set up a good cancer care institute. That's it. But we don't have a cancer care institute in the whole of Jharkhand. And so this guy, so I tell him that, listen, I have some contacts in Chittaranjan Hospital in Calcutta. They'll do your treatment free. So he gets up and says, got angry and said, isko manne dijiye. So I got a little upset, saying, what the hell do you mean by isko manne dijiye? He said, sir, हमारे पास 3 बच्चे हैं. हम चले जाएंगे, एक दिन भी नहीं कमाएगा तो बच्चे लोग क्या करेगा? Now those are choices which none of us make. None of us, God forbid, have to make it all. But these are choices which lots of 90% of the guys are doing it. Not for a fault of theirs, but for the sheer fact that a large percentage of us, and I keep saying the middle class and the upper middle class and the higher class, have always abdicated. We are actually the biggest beneficiary of the Indian system. All of us sitting here, subsidized education, access to, everything else. But when it comes to giving back, and I'm not making a harping of, we need to do, become a Mother Teresa or not at all. But I'm saying some of the stuff, I'll tell you, it's really, and it's painful to see it daily, and it's so easily solvable. The fourth story is a guy called Arun Gupta. So Arun Gupta, and this is really amazing. I'm sitting and the press guys have stopped me, and I'm going in my Jeep, and I'll show you how my Jeep looks like. But so I'm going in my Safari. Now I've changed it to Scorpio since I won the elections. Yeah, it's not a second hand. You get loan in the Lok Sabha. So anyway, so I stop for tea, and then one guy comes rushing towards me on a wheelchair, rushing, and there's somebody in the front, small little creature, and sitting in the front, you can't make out. And the guy comes running, so I think they're running for something else, and they come and stop in front of me. On that wheelchair is a boy, 18, 19-year-old, both legs amputated. 3 fingers missing, came under a train. His name is a guy called Arun Gupta. And you know what? He leaves a place called Kawali, which is 40 kilometers from Jamshedpur, every day with that belief that this system, and comes to the employment exchange because he wants to work here. A double amputee with 3 fingers missing in the left hand wants to work. And he's been coming, and and it's amazing in terms of generosity of spirit when you look at the poor. I'm not making it a virtue, but I'm just saying, the bus guy doesn't take money. He comes there, he sits there, the chaiwala doesn't take, and he goes to the employment exchange. So somebody said that, listen, the MP might be able to help you. So I knew a lot of people because I worked in that town, so I called a couple of guys. So he's working in a call center. And to cut a long story short, then we did, and that's how, if you connect the dots backwards, we did a medical camp for the artificial limb, and his legs are so weak because he can't carry a full limb because he doesn't have the muscles, right? So what does he do is, he fits himself into a below knee prosthetic, and he walks like that. Because he's become shorter, because his legs can't handle, because he just doesn't have any muscle mass. And I'm addressing this public meeting 5 kilometers from his place, and the guy walks here. Walking with a double amputee on a below knee prosthesis makes your feet bleed. And he comes and talks. And he gives a talk, and he speaks. And I'm just thinking aloud, that these are such simple things to fix. But when we debate, whether Modi was communal, whether Rahul Gandhi should get married, and I get so zapped out, because there's so many issues which we need to fix. I was just telling Venkatesh, the Food Corporation of India has got a $280 billion budget. It's got a 20% official wastage policy. Yeah, they said that we waste 20%. We reduced it from 23 to 20. Man, damn good job. Yeah. So unless we get the good people involved in policy pushing, and it's going to take time. And okay. So anyhow, to net, I didn't give big promises. I said, listen, I'll go and visit you, every one of you, once in 3 months. So every time between sessions, I'm on my motorcycle. I go to every part because I promised the guys I'll just meet you. And you won't believe it, they're just meeting. Because I need to meet 20 lakh people in, because every 3 months, so you're on the motorcycle. One time in summer, I went to a village and there was nobody in the village. You see, they said, it's too hot to see you. But that's a commitment. Somebody was saying that the night train in Jamshedpur didn't study, but what happened was, and during the election, Venkat, just take a few minutes, but what's interesting, during elections, I got lost in an Naxal area, left extremists, because my constituency's got a lot of extremists, left extremists. And the police also, everybody disappeared, and I suddenly found myself with that 2 or 3 of us, all campaigning, with no weapons except some combs, because that's my party symbol. So I don't know what to do with it, and I see I see far there's a light. So I said, there must be something. So I go to this light, and there's this light in the middle of a village near the temple, which is called the Hari Mandir in our place, which we, in Jamshedpur. And there is a solar light given by a Muslim boy who works in Dubai, and he's got a small Muslim group in that village. There's only 5 families. But he wanted to do something for the village, so he gives a solar light system to this village. Now that's interesting, because in that solar system, the 2 big lights of whatever it was, there are lots of kids studying, children studying because they want to read, women doing something productive because, stitching, knitting, and men as usual doing something totally non-productive like discussing politics, who should be the prime minister, who should be the president. But that's a social life. And it started setting me thinking that just 2 lights, 2 damn lights can change it. So then I get elected, which I didn't believe I would. And I think, this light keeps coming into my head, light, light, light all the time. So I go up and say, okay, let me start putting some lights in the villages, right? And I ring up Mr. Tata, because I worked with Mr. Tata for 4 years in Tata Sons. So I ring up Mr. Tata and say, sir, can you help me and put some 200 lights? He said, how many villages do you have? I said, I have 1,700. He said, let's do 1,700. So as we speak, we have put it in more than 1,200. We'll finish it by September. By July, actually, technically by July. And it's no big deal. It's just no big deal. Okay? The second thing, which is, and I keep telling, any village which has got water, I want the IIM guys to think over it. Any village which has got water for 12 months of the year for agriculture, there is no poverty. You don't need to do any case study on FDI in retail area. Honestly speaking, you don't need to do any value chain proposition, nothing like that crazy stuff. You just need to give the villages water for agriculture for 12 months. Because in my constituency, there's a place called Patamda Boram, which supplies to Jamshedpur, which has got access to big wells and ponds, which has water for 12 months of the year, and they have SUVs. They have pisciculture. So I'm obsessed with this stuff, right? So I want to make these ponds. So as a politician, you like that you can use your influence to get things done. So I put pressure on a lot of my friends to give me excavator free of cost. Those big JCBs, and anybody from Caterpillar company, I could. Yeah, sorry. So I got the JCB and the excavator guys. They promised to provide me excavator for 2 months of the year, 3 months of the year. Okay? So I just need 60,000 rupees for a pond. You give this project to government, the pond comes to 40 lakhs. You do it yourself. With the excavator, you can do it in 1.5 lakhs to 2 lakhs. If the excavator is thrown free, you can do it in somewhere between 60 to 80,000 rupees. That's it. So, and then I'm going crazy about this water stuff, because I know that my passion overrides me, but I need to tell you this. I was in my constituency and I'd gone to one village on the right side of the road. I went, everybody said, Sansad Mahoday, bahut acha hua aap aa gaye, 25 saal se koi aaya nahi hai, which is interesting again. And on the left side of the road, they kept telling me, you have to give us something, Vridha pension, Vidva pension, what the hell are you doing? Where were you all this time? You should have come earlier, etc., etc. Right side of the road, no problem. Left side of the road, lot of problem. I couldn't figure this out. It's one of those General Motors, internet, urban legends which go around that car which had the thermostat problem, whatever it is. But anyway, so then I asked an old political leader, what is the issue? He said, sir, whichever village has got water for 12 months of the year, the villagers look after their poor very well. You don't need anything else. They actually are well off. But the whole Indian economy is based on this system, and I want you to understand with one very interesting political question. You'll hear the drought in Maharashtra. Maharashtra never used to have this kind of drought earlier, because they used to grow bajra and millet and the stuff which was good for dry season. Then these crazy guys from World Bank came and made sure that they do sugarcane and the other stuff.
Too much water. Yeah.
Sorry. So that's on water. So we are on target for the water, and then so this is on water. Yeah. And on last, I want to give you one thing which is important, which is very seductive for the IIM kind of a group is, you love politicians who are erudite, educated, speak well on TV channels, Times Now and all, right? And that's a tragedy with this country, what's happening, I'll tell you from a political observer perspective. You see, most of the smart guys are from Rajya Sabha. And they don't come from elected process. I'm not saying they're bad. But they have no clue on what's wrong with the country. And the guys who get elected don't have the smartness to get the attention of the Gandhis and the Modis and the Advanis and everybody else. So you have a dangerous situation. Guys who get elected who can't speak and communicate as much as they should, and guys who communicate well and have no clue about what's wrong with the country. So it's a dangerous situation. And that I keep observing. You see it in the Lok Sabha. You might say Mr. Kapil Sibal is, I asked somebody that, Kapil Sibal, no names mentioned, but I'm just as a light-hearted comment. I mentioned somebody that Kapil Sibal ji is a Lok Sabha guy, but he said he's got a Rajya Sabha mindset. But the issue is, so politically we are in a dangerous situation. So we need to get good people into the system, all right? I'll finish off with something very simple. We started in a healthcare call center. It costs us around 45,000 bucks a month. We got 500 doctors to say they will treat 2 patients free. We just created a technology platform. People call. If you're a poor person sitting in this hotel and you call the call center, they'll give an appointment with a doctor in the call center. That's it. Just 45,000 rupees. We treat 1,000 patients a day, which is more than what the government treats. And what is interesting is, you know, I request the people, your alumni networks and all, is to create a pressure, because whenever we have heard this discussion, I know that the NGOs do a fantastic job and they've shown us a lot of light. But there's nothing bigger than the government as an NGO. They should do their damn job. And that means filing PILs against the government. Seriously, RTIs against the government. Make their life miserable. And that is how you can get, don't replace bad governance because the governance is so bad, we need to find an alternative. Because you can never replace the government. So you need to get the government more sensitive, and they will never understand till you make their life miserable. By RTIs and PILs and, you know, and litigation, and that's where you guys are good at. Educated guys can really put it, and these are stuff which you can push the envelope in improving the governance, okay? Yeah. Hey, that's just a photograph. I'm a medical doctor by education. She actually told me, please don't advise me any medicine. No, seriously, she actually said that. And this is the solar light stuff, yeah. Okay, football, we've started, we're going to get football teams, 2,000 football teams. That's a work in progress, but yeah. I do work in a private sector company because I need the job. Actually, my chairman, Mr. Anandjit Singh, is kind enough. I actually don't work at all technically. But you need a job. And I heard everybody say that. You see, it's expensive. So you need, and I want to tell you something very interesting. I come from a government background, so I have no idea about money, okay, initially. Then I ran a company, so I have some idea. So when I quit from the police, I used to get, in 1996, the salary was 10,000 bucks or 12,000 bucks, you know. So I thought Mr. Tata offered me a job, so I joined as Tata Sons. They gave me an offer letter, and I saw the number, and the number was, you know, so the annual, it was somewhere on the 200,000 figure. So I was very happy. It was double, right? I mean, nearly. But as usual, as a good, you know, civil servant kid and civil servant, I needed to read the letter again, right? So at night in this President Hotel, they said you can eat anything you want and you can have a party as much as you want. I was totally, you know, totally happy about it. I read this letter. And then I thought it turned up to be per month, so I was a bit disturbed. So I ring up my wife and say, listen, you know, I think it's per month. She says, you must be mad, nobody will pay you you know, who will be a moron to pay you you know, a month? So I said, yeah, that's logical. So I rang up a guy called Rajiv Dubey, who's president of Mahindras, and at that time he was in Tata Steel. I said, Rajiv, you know, I can't understand this CTC, cost to company, you know, below the line, above the line and all this stuff. So he read the letter and said, yeah, it looks like that. I said, how do I not embarrass myself? So he said, you go and meet Visti Banerjee, who's the head of HR, and say, listen, yeah, how much in hand, yeah? You know? Okay. So I go to Visti Banerjee. I go to Visti Banerjee and I look at Visti Banerjee and say, listen, Visti, forget all that, yeah. How much in hand? So Visti thinks, now I'm happy with this letter, okay? So he says, no, I can speak to Mr. Tata and change it and all that. So I'm now scared that if he changes it, he won't give it back. So I said, no, just what's in hand and all. So he does this and all that. So he gives it and looks the number, what I thought, didn't think, but it was. So. And so I look pretty, you know, I did the drill, I look cool, I'm not overexcited, but actually my, you know, carotids are actually bursting. And I walk away, right? And like a bad Hindi movie, Visti Banerjee stops me. I said, by the way, so I said, now shit, they exposed me as a fraud, he's going to take this letter. He said, you forgot that there are 400,000 rupees for furnishing allowance, you know. Wow. And I don't know about anybody else, but my wife has never seen money for so long that when she saw, because we had only one set of furniture in our house, and she saw those 400,000, she went crazy. She went and bought 2 trees, and seriously, two trees which were auctioned, and we made hell of a lot of furniture. But so, yeah. But that's my car, and that's interesting. My car is written all over with phone numbers. It's got all the numbers, so anybody can stop me. And it's such a simple tool. Yeah. We run an office and a call center and all that, but this card, which is actually written with all the phone numbers. And I'm giving this speech and I give everybody my phone number. So after one of the speeches, I go back home and I'm dead tired after my, meeting the people. So one guy gives me a call and it's at 2 in the night. So he says, Sansad Mohdaya, because listen, you can't, in politics you need to pick up the phone. Nahi to bolega agle chunav mein dekh lenge. So I pick up the phone and say, any problem? And he tells me, no, I want to check, you gave me a number, I want to check whether you pick up the phone or not. But it doesn't stop there. You see, however nice you might become, a policeman has got a streak of evil in it, right? So I ring up this guy at 3 in the morning. So he says, what's the problem? I said, beta, I want to check whether you pick up the phone. So that's me. And my kids don't recognize me half the time because but that's my team. We got some guys from XLRI all doing pro bono, right from IIM Ahmedabad to some very nice team. And I want to tell you, it's very interesting. The ultimate god of management, education, or life is my dog, Hero. Seriously. If you come to my house, any human being which has got 2 feet, or any living form which has got 2 feet, he will lie on the ground and immediately recline, basically telling you, please give me a massage. But look, he never stops trying. He does it 1,000 times a day and he's successful 200 times. Look at the dog. Yeah. He keeps telling me. And I seriously learn from him. Honestly, every day whenever I step in, the moment he looks at me, he looks in my eyes and he's on. And I actually do it. And the interesting part is, if nobody believed we would do it. Nobody. Except that's Reena, my 2 kids in the center and all, that's my mom, my brother. And nobody else gave us a chance. No money. So if I can do it, seriously speaking, and I'm not joking, and I'm not from that area. I come from a different state. I have no financial access to any kind of money. It was just on a belief that we can do a little amount and push the envelope a little. I don't think it's and I really request when I speak to a group of guys like this, that you can do something simple by just starting and trying to think through what you can do. 70% of the country genuinely just needs a chance, and nobody is asking you to become, a Mother Teresa, but just think about it, how we can change it. And I leave this with you with we can do great things only with small things we cannot do great things, but only small things with love. And I think it's important for the most educated group, which has got so much of benefit. I'm just saying that just do a little. It can make a lot of difference. Thank you so much.
So ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude the session, we do what normally all meetings do, which is we try and summarize at the end of the meeting, just so that we all understand what just happened. A couple of learnings from this session we've had. First thing is, if somebody dumps you, write a sad song. And the second thing is, who knows, you'll be lucky you can sell it to the same person. We will all get Mr. Honda's phone number at the end of the session, so you can get a 20 lakh guarantee. If you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you find yourself crying, that's not really crying, that's somebody singing, so don't get very upset about it. And if you want to make sure that your daughter becomes very successful, make sure she meets Vidya Ramalingam, she's somewhere here. The next thing is, if you have a serious management problem and you're struggling and you've tried everything from Microsoft Word to Excel to everything, you know who to go to. Go to your wife. And even better, to make sure she is the right person for you, write shit poetry. If she likes it, you're done.
Not my wife.
The last bit of learning I had from Dr. Kumar was that I now know one more person from Jharkhand apart from Dhoni, which is Dr. Ajoy Kumar. Thank you. And I'm going to practice my handshaking skills before I go to Jharkhand next time, so that I can get wealthy rather fast. And most importantly, if any of you don't like your bosses and you think he's too intelligent for his own being, recommend him to the Rajya Sabha, because apparently these guys don't know what they're doing. And last but not the least, I think if you go to the office and your boss is not doing pretty much what you want and you're struggling, just lie down on the floor and roll. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you so much. What a wonderful way to end our afternoon session. That was absolutely extraordinary. A big round of applause for our wonderful panelists. A big round of applause for all of you as well. But of course, we can't forget our special gifts from Protsahan. Sanjeev Iyer, if you can come on the stage and give them a token of our appreciation. Though I have to say, if anyone's planning to sneak out, there's also a surprise at the end of this, so stick around. I'm about to announce something that will be a little bit of a treat.